hope you're having a good week wherever you are. I'm having a pretty good week so far today because pretty good week so far today. Well, anyway, let's get into. I'm really excited for today's show because my guest is Matt Pless. Matt's the first musician I've ever had on the show, and Matt is someone who's I saw his old punk rock band, Prong Outlet, play at the St. Leonard Volunteer Firehouse in my hometown of Calvert County, in St. Leonard, Maryland, in probably like 2002, something like that. And this was before I was probably just starting to realize that I wanted to be a performer for my living. And I grew up, the kind of town I grew up in is the kind of town that Bruce Springsteen, if he heard of it, would write a song about trying to get out of one day. It's very much the kind of town where you either retire to, but if you're young and ambitious like I am, and definitely more so when I was in high school, it's the kind of town that you don't want to get trapped in. And I knew I wanted to be, at the time I was really into wanting to start a band, but I didn't have the means, the resources at the time to do it. But going and seeing this guy's band play was one of those defining moments. When I first saw live music play, I was like, oh my gosh, I want to be up there. I want to do that. And those are moments that are important. And talking to Matt was sort of like getting to relive all those times of local shows and just the joy of doing it, you know. Because sometimes I get too bogged down in the grind of trying to be successful that I miss out on the joy of actually doing the work. And I'm getting back to that somewhat with this show, with this podcast. But it was really great to talk to Matt. And Matt's a guy, after his band fell apart, he had to decide what he was going to do next. And he's gone on to have a really prolific career as a solo singer-songwriter. And he makes these beautiful acoustic records that are part punk rock and part protest folk. And we talk a bit about the folk punk scene, which is new for me, but it was really cool to hear about. So we're going to talk to Matt, and it's really cool because he plays a couple of songs, and I'll let you know how you can get his albums. So thank you again for listening. If you want to know when I'll be doing a show in next, you can check out my website, willcarreysfunny.com. That's Carey is funny.com. I'm in the process of booking my solo storytelling show again in New York City. Keep tuned to this show and to my website for when I'm going to be putting that up. And let's talk to Matt Pless. I've known you for probably like 10 years or something like that, because you were like one of those, like when I was in high school, like one of the and started first going to see live shows, your old band Prong Outlet were one of the first bands I saw, and I was like, oh shit, I want to do that.
That's cool.
I want to get on stage and do that.
Where did you see us? I forget the first time. I don't remember.
First time, and you can get a little closer if you want.
Where was the first time you saw my band play?
First time was, I think it was in Calvert County at the I think it was at the St. Leonard Firehouse. They put on a show.
Yeah, and like, oh god, wait, was that like in?
I think it was like 2002.
There was a big stage there, and there were a bunch of speakers. When you went in, there was a stage they set up all the way at the fire. It was a benefit show, right?
I think so. I think
I remember it.
I don't know if you remember any of these bands. Like this band, the Flinging Ferrets, used to put on a bunch of shows in that area. They would like clear all of the fire trucks out and outside, and then like everyone from like the 3 high schools would come. And I think it was you. Long time ago. It was 3PO. It was maybe the Flinging Ferrets, maybe Thin Dark Line, and The Truth About Charlie.
I remember that band name. of all the bands, I remember that name from that show. Now that you say that, The Truth About Charlie, it stood out. Then I remember that.
Yeah, because I used to like I was doing theater at the time, and I would like run up and sing their song about video games. It was just like the coolest thing for me at that time. And I was like, I don't know, I can't remember how old I was, but I was like, that was 2002. I was like probably like 14, like maybe 16. It's like a long time ago.
Holy cow, that's really cool that you saw my band play and like wanted to be like, I want to do that, because that's like why I started. Was I saw my friends local band play at a church in Catonsville when I was like 15. And I remember looking in the stage, and they weren't any good, but like they were just doing it, and there was like all the like girls in the front of the stage dancing to them, and they were like loving them and all, and like all the kids were dancing around and like pushing each other in the pit and all, and like the whole like thing when I was like 15 was like, wow, these guys are like rock stars. They got like everybody's into them, and I remember I said I wanted to do that. Like I had a guitar and all, and wanted to do music, and had always been like performing in theater and stuff. But at that point, I remember being like, I want to definitely do this. So it's cool that it just translates down to like somebody else.
Yeah, absolutely. No, you were a big inspiration to me, Matt. And so you did theater too, early on.
Yeah.
Like when did you start with theater?
Oh man, when I was really little, I used to put on plays. Like when I was like 5, 6 in my parents' basement, I just make like a set and get my sister or like the neighborhood kids to like play parts, and we just improvise like skits and whatever, and put on shows for my family and their parents, my friends' parents, and then I went to theater summer camps for like 4 summers, and I went to school plays. I used to make movies with my dad's home video camera with tape and all back when I was little. Like, so I always did it. Just I wasn't like into like theater group in school. I was just I always did stuff here. And
you kind of went from early on, had a natural inclination to want to like perform.
Yeah.
And you grew up in Catonsville? Mm-hmm. Because I went to college in Towson, which is not too far from there.
No, it's like 40 minutes, right?
Yeah, so
not even like 30 minutes.
Yeah. I always imagine Catonsville as like your typical slice of American suburban life, like a lot of the other towns outside of Baltimore. I imagine was like that. Was that what your experience was?
Yeah, pretty much. I mean, it's a cool place to grow up. I mean, it's got suburbia is not terrible. I mean, but I guess Catonsville's the prime example of it. And all it's good and all it's bad. It's probably got all of it going on there. It's a pretty model train town.
Right.
But yeah, it was cool. I had a good time growing up there.
Yeah. What did your folks do?
My dad, he's a teacher at high school. He's taught communications and tech ed for like 41 years. And my mom, she does work at the community college. She used to write for the local paper and the Catonsville Times. And she does a lot of writing and editing and stuff. My dad, he used to own a radio station when I was younger. He built one out of the cafeteria in his high school where he was teaching. And he used to have the kids go after school and play heavy metal music on the records and to be their own DJs as part of his like curriculum program. He like invented this idea of doing that, and from there it got popular, and he built it up to an FM signal, and then ended up calling it 97 Underground, and they played like metal in like the 80s. And it was kind of a DIY thing that got really successful, and eventually like he had to sell it because they weren't getting enough money from sponsors on the air, so he had to sell his half of it to somebody, and he corporated it up, and that was that. But
oh man,
so that was cool.
So, that's cool. So that's in your family from the beginning. because I like a lot. I think are out of maybe other musicians I know are like really living the DIY, still like the DIY aspect of music. And I mean, that's what sort of what it seems like the music industry is now, is just everybody kind of doing your own thing and building your own audience. So that I like that was kind of in your family from the beginning. When did you start playing guitar?
I remember I used to go down to the radio station and get babysat by the DJs when my dad was working there and my mom was working and I wasn't in school on the weekends or something. And so I used to hang out with all the DJs and stuff, and they seemed like the coolest people when I was like a little kid, and like that general atmosphere made me want to get involved in music, I guess, possibly. But I guess guitar, when I was 14, I told my dad I wanted a guitar for Christmas, and like he kind of looked at me. I remember being like, "Oh, okay, like every kid wants this eventually. Like,
right?
Maybe he won't want it in a month." And I kept asking, and he got me this cheap $100 guitar and a little tiny amp. It was all like $100 starter pack, and
like a Squire or something.
Yeah,
like that.
It was a Hohner. It was a Hohner guitar. It was.
I remember Hohner.
They make great harmonicas and terrible everything else. But I had this guitar, and I remember I learned to play "Smoke on the Water" and like Iron Man, and then I like let it sit in my corner in my room forever, and I just didn't mess with it. I gave up on it. And then this guy who a friend of mine who passed away later on, he came over and he was older than me, and he saw it there and he started playing on it, and he was like, "Can you play this thing?" And I was like, "No." He's like, "Do you try?" I was like, "No." And he was just like, "Why?" He's like, I was like, "I don't know." He's like, "Your dad got this for you?" He's like, "If my dad got me a guitar," he was just like, "I wouldn't be letting it sit here. You should learn to play it. Like, you're lucky he got you this." And like, I remember after that, I started to think I should try to learn to play, and then I started getting lessons, and I didn't want to take lessons. I wanted to learn on my own, so I quit in like 2 months and just started a punk band.
Oh yeah. Yeah, I think punk band is like the entry level position when it comes to rock and roll. I think if you can do a punk band, you'll eventually be able to do anything.
Punk rock is like musical teething.
It kind of is, and for me, at least, I found that punk rock bass playing was like bass in your punk band was like the thing you could always just get your friend to do. It's like, I've never played before. That doesn't matter. We'll pick that up. So you started your band, your dad had a metal radio station. Did you grow up on metal in any way?
The first song I ever remember liking was Uptown Girl by Billy Joel. When I was really young, I remember going over the Key Bridge in the back seat of my dad's car and hearing it on the radio, and just remember really liking the melody, and like just something about it gave me that kind of melancholy feel that I wasn't old enough to really have yet, but I had it anyway, and I recognize it later as that. But I grew up hearing a lot of metal, and I listened to metal like Metallica and like Motley Crue when I was in middle school and stuff, like, because I used to get free promotional demo tapes from all the bands that's mailed into my dad's station. So I wasn't very cool in middle school, but all the older kids liked me because I would give them free cassette tapes of bands that my dad got, and
like, you'd get the good stuff, or is there like a bin of rejects? Because I remember in college there was always a bin of singles outside WTMD with no written on them, and I would always pick up these, and a lot of them were, to be fair, terrible, because WTMD plays like a lot of acoustic and indie, and then there'd be like really crappy modern active rock.
Maybe that's why they haven't played mine in like 15 years.
I don't even know. I think I don't know if they're still in the air anymore. I feel like they might be, but I don't know.
They never played any of it. I was sending things, and they just didn't play much of it.
Yeah. So, you said something interesting about Uptown Girl, like that melancholy feeling. Do you feel like you understand that song now more that you're older?
Yeah, I mean, back when I was younger, I just liked the melody, and I thought his voice sounded cool, and it was catchy, and I mean, I know what it's about now. It doesn't really resonate with me on any kind of like I'm not dating like a debutante or anything, so I'm not really like able to relate. But I like the song, it's got that nostalgic feel to me.
Mm-hmm.
But I got into metal and I like Ozzy and all that stuff. My dad would have it, and I know all that stuff. But I wouldn't say it influenced my music at all.
Yeah, but that was like an early introduction to like an attitude.
I guess I guess the first band that ever like really like gave me like that like her like I remember being in a car. There's like Nirvana. This is gonna sound lame. Everybody who's an actual punk rocker is gonna be like, oh, little poser, but this is the truth. Nirvana was probably the first punk band. The grunge.
Yeah, I've torn my hair out trying to decide what punk is.
it's a patch to some and a lifestyle to others. That's what I've come down to.
Exactly.
But like Nirvana, I like them a lot. I like their attitude and their songs. But the first punk band that I heard that I remember lit me up was Green Day, and I was in someone's car and we were driving through Catonsville and the radio came on. I remember Basket Case played, and I was like, "What is this?" And I remember the moment I heard it, like I just remember like the time stops for a second in your memory, like that's something that hit you really hard.
Sure.
And I remember just getting really into Basket Case, and that was it. Then I was just like, punk is cool.
Yeah. Do you remember what about Basket Case really grabbed you?
It was fast. It was catchy. It had that melancholy type of like that melody kind of thing. Same type of thing Uptown Girl kind of had, I guess. And I was in the car like hanging out when I was a kid with my friends. It was a good time. I think all music that hits you when you're in that like prime period of growing up and discovering life is going to be that stuff that kind of like is always there for you later on. Like,
I agree. So I agree completely. Like Chris Rock did a bit on one of his specials about like he kind of phrased it the way whatever music you like when you like of that age. Well, he said like whenever you start getting laid, you're gonna love for the rest of your life. Or for me, it would have been I guess when other people were getting laid. But like the first, because I hear exactly what you. I can relate to that too. The first time. I remember the first time I heard, for me it was Blink-182. The first time I heard the opening notes of What's My Age Again, I was like, oh, that's cool. And then I went and got that album. And the first time I heard Tumbleweed and that big E minor chord, and then the dun 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 dun, I was like, oh, I got to learn how to make that sound. That's a good sound. Because people and like people shit on pop punk all the time, but I think that it's important. Because if your kids, if you're growing up in suburban America and you don't have the cool record store nearby, how else are you going to discover it if you need like an entryway?
Well, back then you did. Now you got the internet. It's probably a completely different situation for kids because they have it all at their fingertips. And I think music nowadays is probably much more Wild West style. Like, you know, there's not like a record label feeding you. There's not 6 record labels feeding you everything you know. Like, you can find anything you want. So the discovery of punk's probably changed for a lot of people. But I forget, you said something earlier. I want to respond to that. I totally lost a train of thought.
It's cool. We'll get back. We'll get back to it.
It's cool.
Train keeps it rolling.
Pop punk. Yeah, pop punk. I think is. I mean, what is pop punk? A catchy punk song with distortion? Like, is that pop punk? A song with like lyrics about relationships, or like, what's your definition of pop punk? There's varying degrees of it. You can have like Newfound Glory, and frankly, I would say the Ramones are pop punk. They're catchy. They're like fast. And the Sex Pistols
and
are
they
pop
have
punk too. Like,
and they have melodies, and they're very, very accessible. It's not like, I guess if I was gonna try to define it, I don't even want to use the term radio friendly because it's so like, it's like the word like shareable or viral. It's just like gross to me. But I guess if there's a certain level of, I don't want to say, if it at least sounds kind of friendly, because like Newfound Glory, and it took me a while to kind of think this about them. If you were to break it down, Newfound Glory have a lot of hardcore elements in their music, but it's still very approachable to like a kid like me who was like, I remember kind of being scared of like Hatebreed when I was in high school, or other bands like that.
Hatebreed, yeah. Black Flag, like there's the harder stuff, and people are into the harder stuff. Like some of them will swear by like that's what got them into it, and that's cool because everyone gets into something differently. But for me, it was definitely pop punk, and I looked into the like Circle Jerks and all that stuff later on. But people would think, yeah, this dude's a poser. He got into punk from Green Day, but whatever. Like,
Yeah.
I don't care.
I don't even care how people get into anything anymore, as long as there's people at the party.
That's true. You want to have cool people at the party.
Yeah.
Sure.
So at least so there's new cool bands, and there's still people out there. Like, I went to a couple of 10-year anniversary shows for different albums, and the people who like grew up on like certain albums, like, you know, like Get Up Kids or something like that, they're all actually have I mean, I don't mean to keep talking,
No,
but
it's cool.
I saw the Get Up Kids at the Bell House in Brooklyn, and great show. But the thing I noticed is that everyone just kind of stood there, and then everyone moshed on the last song because everyone's old and tired and has work in the morning.
People get sleepy.
Yeah. It was a punk for adults.
Yeah, I mean, Newfound Glory and all Get Up Kids, they're about a decade and 5 away from being dad rock.
I know. Yeah, and just imagine, it's like, oh, what happened to the good old days? Like, and the way I know I'm old is because, like, if a band for like 5 Seconds for Summer comes out, I can listen to go, this is too poppy for me.
Yeah.
Even for me.
I mean, there's always a new person to our new group takes the torch, you know, whoever gets the lucky cash out on the mainstream. There's some pop punk band for every generation to get pissed off to. They're just the latest incarnation of Blink.
Exactly. So you started a punk band when you were 14?
When I was like 16, 17.
16, 17. Was that Prong Outlet?
Oh yeah, well, I had this band called Sanitary Supermarket for like 2 weeks.
Mm-hmm.
We just covered songs by a local band because I didn't write anything yet. I got written songs in like 3rd grade. I used to write songs, and like when I was like 8, and like write them on paper and sing them a cappella to the class.
Mm-hmm.
Like, but then I stopped writing songs for like between that and high school, and I started just I was listening to Rancid and Green Day and all that, and there's
Rancid are great.
Yeah.
And Out Come the Wolves. That record is still so good.
Totally, their shit's timeless. That song's a great record. But I was into that, and I started I wrote this song called Pickles, with like 3 chords and distortion, just about typical pop punk shit, and that's how it started. I just started writing pop punk songs. Like,
And you were in that band, and then how did Prong Outlet come together?
I met this guy, Steve, who my friend Kirk introduced me to, and we were, I forget what it, we were at a Rancid concert the day we met, and we had met earlier that day. And I remember crowd surfing, and he crowd surfed right into me. I remember we're like, oh shit, what's up, dude? Like, and like we both kind of like fell on each other.
Right.
And we kept talking, and then like he came over one day and he found out that I had the Nerf Herder CD. If you remember that band.
That name sounds familiar. I don't know if I ever listened to them.
Yeah, they were like pop punk nerd rock, and like but no one else had that CD that he knew, and so that got us talking, and we decided we wanted to start a punk band. And we went back and watched Green Day's Jaded in Chicago at his house, and I remember like we should do this and get a crowd that big to go see us.
Yeah.
And then my drummer the guy who played drums, he lived up the street. He didn't play, he just lived up the street. And I was like, I know this guy who wants to play, and he lives like 4 houses away, and he's got money. So we were like, yo, AJ, and AJ came down and bought a $100 drum set, piece of crap, and like we just started playing, like literally just learned like that. That was it.
Yeah. So you just got in the basement and just started trying to figure it out.
Yeah.
Together.
Pretty much.
And then did you just kind of start playing shows around town?
First show we played was at the high school talent contest.
I played a high school talent contest too, my old band.
Well, it was actually it was interesting. It was we our high school they gave us 2 songs to play, or no, 1 song. We had to combine 2 to get all the songs that we wanted to play, and I just remember coming out on stage and just seeing the lights, and I couldn't see anything. And I just remember like it's like a slingshot that shot me off to the rest of my life, and I was just like, this is great. And it just like from that point, like it wasn't scary to get on stage in front of all those people. I just like sheer will of one. I couldn't sing great yet, you know. I just didn't care. Like So I don't know. It was fun. I had a good time starting that up.
And did you play original songs at that?
Yeah.
Nice.
We always played originals. I would just write them fast. Like I didn't. I just got a knack for it early on. For whatever reason, like I feel like I can tell when someone when there's a song I've written that people are gonna like. I can tell before it's even done, and I've just always had that like tick going on. So once people started to get into my songs for Three Prong, like that confidence like builds your confidence to like, you know, that what's it called? I can't think of the damn word, but just people like getting into it like kind of makes your confidence boost.
Yeah,
you're writing quicker.
Yeah, sort of like you sort of get on a roll.
Yeah, exactly. That feedback, the feedback you're giving, you kind of get
exactly.
So I just kept writing.
And how long were you together? Because I'm trying to piece together all the records, and we don't have to go through all of every single record you've ever done because you've put out a lot of stuff. But like, how long were you together before you started like recording?
Oh, well, like 2 weeks, like our month. It wasn't quite. We had a little 4-track, one of those Tascams, those old ones, tape.
Yeah.
And it was snowing, and we were stuck in the house. And I remember we were recording with one microphone. We just 4-track drums, bass, and guitar, and did a demo tape, like an actual, not like a gimmicky vintage. This is cool hipsterville demo tape that people do now on cassette. It was like we needed to make a demo tape because there wasn't CDRs yet. Like
yeah. So what year was that?
99, like 99.
99. So three prongs.
98, like something like that.
So 3PO started in like the late 90s.
98, 99 was definitely 99, but I feel like maybe we practiced at the end of 98 for a second before I started dating someone and just dropped the band for like 3 months. But like, yeah, 99, let's say that.
Okay.
We did that, and we did a really bad, we did a very poorly recorded CD after that sounded terrible that I just don't ever mention. And then this album called Unlucky Strike.
Yeah, I still have that somewhere.
That's the one that blew up with the Baltimore crowd. That came out, and then all of a sudden the shows started getting packed, and people started like actually like liking us. And
that's awesome. And how did you like distribute that album?
We just went to shows and sold it. Then we didn't even have. I don't think we had it on. We had something online, I'm sure, on one of those old.
Yeah, because this was even before MySpace. Because I remember seeing you, and you had like all 4 of a whole bunch of albums, and I just bought them all.
Yeah.
So Unlucky Strike comes out, and then that's sort of what gets you known in the Baltimore music scene at the time. What year was that?
That was 2000.
And what were like who were some of the bands you were performing with?
Back then, this band 601, this band called Tripolar Disorder. Back then was a band. Tim K used to play around with us a lot, and he was a piano man.
That name sounds familiar.
Yeah, he was really good. He's still around. Punk bands, though, we played with All Time Low before they were anybody. I remember them.
Yeah, I remember seeing them I saw them a couple times my freshman year of college.
I remember Alex being a 13-year-old kid asking for my autograph when he was little on our new CD release party at Haslinger's.
Oh, wow, really?
Yeah, man.
Oh, that's crazy.
And I look at him all now.
I know.
But
yeah. I should tweet this episode to him.
Oh, please do. How you doing, Alex? Do you remember me?
Yeah. So they were like so they must have been like just starting
kids.
as well.
They were really good for kids who were like 12, 13, however old they were. They were just on point. They had everything going. I'm not surprised that they made it as far as they did. But yeah, they were there. Super Giant. We used to play with Super Giant a lot. The Betty Spackle. This band called the Betty Spackle. I used to love playing with them. There was a bunch of bands back then. You know?
Awesome. And you're playing like house shows, like community centers, or did you play like the Wrecker?
We played like every bar, every venue in Baltimore and beyond that. You know, the what's it called, Mid-Atlantic region. We played bars a lot, and the house show scene wasn't quite kicking like it is now. I think because the internet wasn't as mobile, or not mobile. The internet wasn't as like connected. It wasn't a thing as heavy as it is now. I think there was less connection going on with people. So we did a lot of bars, and they kind of sucked because
like
bars
over
were-
21.
Yeah,
bars
a
and
lot of that. Well, but I used to love the halls. We played social halls.
yeah.
They were great. I used to like those a lot because kids would come out. It was all ages. People got into it.
Yeah, and that's the kind of show that I first saw you at.
Yeah.
Yeah, like the firehouses, or they also always put on this show in Calvert called Slam the Christmas Tree. Was a big one.
I don't remember that. I remember there was I don't remember that festival.
Did you ever play with? I'm sound like an old man in my rocking chair, but there was this band from Boston called Endway. Did you ever play with them?
Nah, I never heard of them before.
No. They used to play in that area a lot. And then the one other band I remember talking about, like, look how far they've come, is this band Patent Pending.
Oh, I remember that.
They played one of those shows at the Prince Frederick Armory, I think, and you'd have these like big army guys like acting as security. So anytime you actually tried to like enjoy yourself, this big muscle dude would come and shut it down. So you did Unlucky Strike. When did was Now or Never was after that?
No, we did.
Because I know you also didn't you do a demo with Mitch Allan from SR-71?
Yeah, we sold out for a second, and
I think I remember. I think I read a piece you wrote about that not being the greatest experience.
It was funny. I wasn't like the worst thing I ever did. It was definitely funny. I had a good time, It was working in a real studio with a real producer and all that, and real money we had to put up, and yeah, it was fun. I had a good time. Unfortunately, 9/11 happened like right after that, and the song "I'm the type of guy who wants to blow up the school on graduation day," like that's not gonna fly.
Yeah, that's not gonna fly. That's not gonna play on the radio right after that.
Yeah, it kind of buried that, and Mitch Allan didn't really follow up with us much after that either.
Yeah. What kind of guy is he? What is he like as a producer? I'm curious because he's now like more behind the scenes now. As a songwriter, but
he's getting paid. He's doing his thing. He was cool. He got it done. He knew what he was doing. I remember he wanted to rearrange some of Novocaine, that song that Long Lost Kid Who Likes Being Destructive. Yeah, that was like our big hit song, and he wanted to kind of produce it and revamp it, and he wanted to change some stuff around in it. And I was totally nervous about it. Like, I don't want you touching my song. And then I kind of like just. I remember just saying, screw it, I'll just give it a chance, like, why not? And like he produced it, and I thought it was a better arrangement than I had done. So like sometimes an outside ear is a good thing. It can be a bad thing, but sometimes it's worth taking a risk on something. Other than that, though, he was cool. I remember we were joking about him being like a super rock star and all this stuff the whole time, and like teasing him because he was famous at that point, and we're like, where's all the cocaine and hookers? And he kept kidding around it. So then at the end of the session, I remember he actually like hired like strippers to come in and like started throwing $100 bills around, and he got me drunk on like a 6-pack of Budweiser, and like it was funny. He was cool. I had a good time.
Oh, that's funny.
It's like I was 20 years old. This is awesome. Yeah.
Oh my God! To be 20, be in the studio, and then strippers.
Yeah. It was funny, man.
Be like, this is what Motley Crue was singing about all those years ago.
Yeah, it was definitely an experience. 20-year-old kid, that kind of stuff is like, whoa, cool. Back then,
Yeah. And then, did you tour a lot after that demo?
Yeah. Well, the first big tour we ever went on was it was totally backwards. After the drummer I started with went to college, because there was no drummers around, the closest guy who lived near us was like in Columbia, which was like really kind of the more like upper class area at that time. So I went there, and his dad like owned a share in like Microsoft or some crazy shit, and like he bought him this like $80,000 RV mobile home on his 18th birthday, and like right when he joined the band, he rolls up with this like huge mobile home, and like he was like, we got to go on tour. So I was in college at the time, and I was in like my middle of the first semester. He's like, I'm gonna book us a tour through the Midwest, and we're gonna go out in this RV. You ready? And I was like, yeah. And so I just dropped out of college and went on tour in an RV for like a month, and we played like I guess 5 shows and sat and partied in this guy's driveway in Chicago the rest of the time, and it was crazy to think I had like a freaking microwave, shower, fold out beds. It was nuts. And then once we got back to Maryland, he quit the band, took his RV, and joined the band that we were staying with in Chicago in the driveway.
Oh shit.
That was funny.
Oh man.
He ended up joining a band called Army of Freshmen. If you ever heard of them.
I've heard of them.
Yeah.
I think I got a sticker of theirs at Warped Tour one year.
Yeah. Well,
I was there. I never really. I couldn't tell you any of their songs.
I just know he's in the band, and now he's not. He's married and got kids, but. Yeah.
Oh yeah. Yeah. It's crazy how because when you go and look at other bands of that scene, or all of Drive Thru Records, I don't just how much everything everything changed. For Drive Thru, it just kind of dropped off the face of the earth. And then when you hear I was like, oh, this band member is married and with kids, it's like, holy shit.
Well, I think a lot. What I try to avoid in general with my music is I like writing just skeletons. I look at an acoustic song, just it's like a naked song. You can dress it up however you want. You can dress it up punk or metal or hip hop or whatever, And as long as the song naked looks good, sounds good, has that kind of soul in it, then it's going to be a good song always. And you can always go back to playing it acoustic by yourself, and people will still like it. I think a lot of times, the Drive Thru scene, all that was so of the moment and so intense in its presence. It was just very much in the moment, and
right.
That stuff doesn't always age as well, because it becomes a trendy thing at the time.
Yeah,
so,
it becomes part of a time and a scene.
Yeah, and everything does, but I mean,
yeah.
I feel like it's easier to kind of you can play an acoustic song, when you're 60 and someone's gonna be, oh cool, versus
exactly.
Who might have never heard you before, versus not really the 60-year-old might hear Newfound Glory and not have that nostalgic thing going on and be I just can't deal with this. But
yeah, they don't have that previously built connection to it.
But the acoustic song might work for anybody. But I mean, what do I know? It's
yeah. Well, I think you know a lot, because your acoustic stuff is really, really soulful and really really solid. I think you're accomplish what you're setting out to do, because I always think, and a lot of people probably said, the true testament of a good song is, can you sit and play it alone with a guitar and it sounds good?
Yeah.
And then you can always dress it up or dress it down, but I think as you have voice and an instrument, that's always going to be cool. That's always going to be resonant with people.
Yep. As long as you can do it with just you got a good song.
Yeah. So how did you end up transitioning into your solo stuff?
Bob Dylan.
Mm-hmm.
I remember
because I remember Now or Never. That was a great record.
I had about had it at that point in time, because me and Steve, the bass player, weren't getting along. There was a lot of ego shit happening, and so we weren't getting along too good.
Mm-hmm.
And I was kind of tired of being locked in the punk rock box. I hate being stuck somewhere. I hate it. I
Sure.
going. And I was trying to. I just wanted to write. I wanted to do more than just write pop punk, and I didn't really know what I was going to do. People said they liked my lyrics a lot, so that stuck in my head. I was like, I guess I can do more lyrical stuff, acoustic stuff then. Yeah. And so Steve, when he quit to join Ruiner, a hardcore band that got massive, after that I was like, I gotta kind of figure out what to do, because this ain't gonna last. I can't keep replacing people. Mm-hmm. And that's when I just said I'm done with it. But I had started listening to, after 9/11 happened, I remember this is such a corny story, but I was like, I want to hear some protest stuff.
Right.
And I remember going down, I didn't know what there was that I had grown. There wasn't much of that out there at the time.
And then Bob Dylan's the perfect example of that.
I went down to my dad's basement and found a Bob Dylan Greatest Hits record and put it on and just listened to it straight through. And I remember thinking, I heard Mr. Tambourine Man, the version he did, as opposed to the Byrds version, which is much shorter and poppy. But his version, Bob Dylan's, is 6 minutes, and it has all these extra verses and just the imagery. I remember just the melody, the imagery, everything was just holy crap! I was like, this guy writes I never paid attention to him. And after that, I was like, I got to do this. This is the bar, I got to do this.
Yeah, absolutely.
And I guess combining that with punk, which I was coming from, is kind of what got it going into this folk punk sound before folk punk was what it is now, which is 10 years ago, 15 years, a long time ago.
Yeah, absolutely. Because I remember listening to your early acoustic stuff, and then years later, discovering like a guy like Frank Turner or somebody like that, who I really like. But you were you're honestly, and maybe I'm just in my little bubble. I don't know who else is out there doing acoustic music that has a very punk rock heart to it. So I really dug that, because it's like, oh, this still has kind of the energy and the passion that I like in good punk rock music, but it's acoustic. So I was really digging it.
There's tons of it out now. Folk punk is a thing. It's a very prevalent thing now with the kids who are in college age, I guess.
Oh yeah.
It's really big. There's a lot of great artists doing it.
Who are some of the guys that you have worked with or that you really like in that scene?
In the folk punk scene?
Yeah.
There's a lot of good people. You can't mention folk punk without saying Pat the Bunny. He's this guy who's from Vermont. He writes lyrics that are excellent. His songwriting is excellent, and he's like the guy in that scene that kind of really hits home for a lot of people. He writes really simple songs that are poignant, and when I first heard his stuff, I remember thinking, okay, this guy just made me think, and I haven't thought when I've heard lyrics in a minute since like Bob Dylan. So I was like, props, I gotta check him out, and he's really good, influential guy. Andrew Jackson Jihad was a good band. I like them starting out. They have this album called People Who Eat People Are the Luckiest People in the World. That's a really good album. Days and Days. There's a band called Days and Days that I played shows with that are getting really popular now. They're probably the biggest folk punk band right now going on. They're touring with Leftover Crack and doing all kinds of stuff. I like those folks. But yeah, I played shows with all these people, and there's I can name tons of people who are people you may not have heard about because they're not as known. But this scene is like filled with like great lyricists and just like really cool writers and characters and stuff. So yeah,
just like truly unique people who, because I feel like folk is like people who've kind of lived a life, and I think,
sorry.
Oh, no problem. And I think you definitely have, just from the big song I still listen to it pretty frequently is from the Ballad of DIY.
Oh yeah.
Which I tried to find online and I couldn't find anywhere anymore.
Yeah, I don't play that anymore.
Yeah, but that's sort of like, again, your early 20s, kind of in a band, just with this kind of dedication to this thing that ends, and then you kind of got to rebuild your life and figure what you're gonna do. Yeah. So you start getting into Bob Dylan, and then just start writing songs and putting things together from there.
Pretty much. The first song I wrote that was a Bob Dylan-y type thing was this song called The Joker and the Fool, which was about Steve leaving Prong Outlet to join this other band, and it was just kind of like a non-direct, very vague story about a breakup of some sort, and it doesn't mention him. It's just kind of an idea expressed. That was the first one that I was like, oh, cool, I can still do this without everybody else. And then from there...
That's a good feeling to have,
yeah,
right?
I was like, I can do it now. I don't have to worry about anybody. And from there, it just kind of started going, just kind of experimenting with different ways of writing lyrics. And I got really into doing like witty phrases. And I used to say to people back then that I wanted to have every line, like write songs like someone's getting knocked out every time they hear a line, like boxing, like it's like hit them with one line, and by the time they're like shaking it off, you got another one you knock them with. Just keep hitting them with every line. And that was my like whole process back in those days, and I think that's kind of how I developed into what I do now. Just the witty stuff.
Yeah, just like one. That's a brilliant analogy, because I love listening to a song and you're just like, holy shit, that was a good line. Or even because I had a similar thing to you. Like I never got to play any of the big shows in Maryland. I played a couple of the record once on like a Tuesday, but I was in bands, and my bands never gelled to the point where we could kind of get any momentum going. And eventually what happened with when my last band fell apart, I ended up going to a comedy open mic and doing a stand-up set and going, oh, okay, so this is what I'll do, and I don't even need an instrument or other people. So to me, I always think it was like, oh, my punk rock fuck it thing was I just got rid of everything and became a comedian. And the same way I like great lines in lyrics, I love great lines in jokes where you're just like, God damn it, that's so good. It makes me angry.
Yeah,
I ache for it. Totally. And when you start doing your acoustic stuff, because you kind of, and correct me if I'm wrong, you kind of bounce around location wise, because I know you were in New York for a little while a few years ago.
Yeah. What was the question?
So are you like just constantly on the road?
Pretty much. I mean, I was on tour for the last 5 years. Like, I'm straight except for Christmas. I come back for Christmas, book more shows, go out west.
Wow.
Play shows all the way out west, trim pot for a month or whatever, make a bunch of money doing that, book more shows back east.
Mm-hmm.
Keep going and going in a circle. I just kept building and building. I don't know. I first started traveling on the solo thing when I went to New York City the first time when I was 24, and I came up here in a van and lived out of the van for like 2 weeks on the street and busked for money in the parks to eat. And this girl I went to college with for the semester I was there saw me in the park in Washington Square, and she was like, "What are you doing here?" And I told her, and she was like, "Why don't you come stay with us? We have a closet. You can walk in. It's a walk-in closet, and you can crash there for $120 a month." I was like, "Okay." So I moved into her place with her and 3 strippers when I was 24, and had this closet I lived in on the floor underneath all their sequin clothes, and it was pretty funny. It's a good time.
When I first moved to New York, I lived with a stripper also.
Dude, good time. Or dancer. I don't mean to say stripper. I'm sorry.
Yeah, that's the I guess that's what the politically correct thing to say nowadays.
Yeah, it's just respectful.
Yeah. Life is funny like that sometimes, isn't it? So you toured for 5 years, like just setting up shows, just emailing people, and then finding out how you were going to get there. I'm very curious because I'm kind of thinking I'm going to move that way with my comedy career because like I don't do a ton of like comedy clubs, and I always have more fun like doing my own. Like, I'm working on a one-man show, and I'm just kind of booking at places. So I'm very curious about the mechanics of how you build, what the process behind building a tour, and how you like set it up. Like, is there an entire network of performers and venues, and everyone like helps each other out?
Pretty much, yeah. The folk punk scene is very big and small all at the same time. Like, I got invited to play at this thing called Planet X Fest in like 2011. It was a big folk punk type of gathering in the Midwest. I went out there and I took 100 CDs that I just had of me playing into a microphone.
Mm-hmm.
And, I gave them out to people everywhere, all over it, and they all went back to their hometowns, and it was like a bomb that I set off because they all knew about it all over the country because everyone came from all over the country to go to this festival.
Right.
And people started asking me to come play their living room, play their backyard. Like, all the shows on that circuit are very like DIY house venue type things.
Mm-hmm.
And I just started building from that. And as I would give my music out for free or donation, like most of the bands in that scene do, and it just spreads and it snowballs, and that's how it happens. Like, literally, I could go online right now and probably post, I could be like, I'm going to go on tour, I need some venues, who wants me to come play? And like, people usually respond and say, come play here, and I'll set something up through Facebook, and it's just very personal and just like no bullshit, and it's done.
Awesome. And doing house shows, what are your experiences with that? Imagine those would be super fun.
Yeah, they're awesome. The smaller the room, the bigger the crowd,
Yeah.
So they've been really cool. I've had great times. I've had bad times. It's like anything, man. You get involved in something enough, you're gonna have the good and the bad. But in general, I'll always want to play house shows because they're fun. They're very personal. You can you talk to people, you meet people more there. People listen more usually. I don't know. That whole circuit's really given me a lot of good things in my life. So I'm pretty grateful for it. It's cool.
Awesome, man. That's excellent. And how many solo records do you have?
There's so much out there. I don't know. There's like 4 of them, but most of them are sold out. And I've just recorded stuff over that's been sold out and put it out on different stuff. There's probably like 170 some songs of mine out there just floating around the internet. Like, but I guess officially solo albums, there's, I guess like 5 or 6 actual like solo albums. Then there's like EPs and 7 inches and stuff, like
Totally.
compilations.
Fantastic. Do you want to play a song?
Yeah, sure.
Oh, cool. Thanks, man.
Alright. This song is about, those breakup moments and staying up really late because of such events. This is called Bloodshot Baby Blues. Well, it seems like love always comes and goes. It's a two-way street or a dead-end road. Take a fast lane ride through the danger zone. Swing a circle round a shooting star. Found a guilty pleasure I should ignore, but I can't quite tell what you got in store. And one thing's for sure, seen your kind before, 'cause you never show me who you are. Yeah, you're changing with the wind like the clouds in the sky. You're fleeting like the feeling from a cocaine high. And either way you'll find me staying up all night at the end of the line with you on my mind. I got a little pick-me-up to get me through. Tomorrow I'll be moving on to something new, 'cause when I look in your eyes I see the lies I can't excuse beneath your bloodshot baby blues. It's a long way back from a broken heart. If you get too close, yeah, you've gone too far. Now I'm getting soft 'cause I failed too hard, trying to balance on your shaky ground. You can pass the buck, but here's my 2 cents. You're a dime a dozen, a counterfeit, just a worthless waste of the time I spent. Should've never laid my money down. Yeah, you're changing with the wind like the clouds in the sky. You're fleeting like the feeling from a cocaine high. And either way you'll find me staying up all night at the end of the line with you on my mind. I got a little pick-me-up to get me through. Tomorrow I'll be moving on to something new. You're my Jekyll and my Hyde and the disguise between the two. With your bloodshot baby blues. Changing with the wind like the clouds in the sky. You're fleeting like the feeling from a cocaine high. And either way you'll find me staying up all night at the end of the line with you on my mind. I got a little pick-me-up to get me through. Tomorrow I'll be moving on to something new, 'cause you either break the habit or the habit's breaking you. I got the bloodshot baby blues.
Awesome, man.
Sweet, thanks. That was about
Could I?
What's up?
If you still remembered, could I make a request?
I can't
Did
do
you
the
still
valid
find-
DIY.
What's that?
I can't do the valid.
Oh no, I wasn't gonna do that. I was gonna ask for Ashtray.
Oh yeah, I can do that one.
This.
Okay, here's Ashtray. Let's go with this. Someone asked me if I found God. Yes, I think we've met a couple times, but I'm not sure if it was him, cause I can't look her in the eye. And all I heard were warnings from my conscience in the guilty night that said, I'll see you on the day you die. I'll see you on the day you die. I'll see you on the day you die. No, I've never been to heaven, but they say my head is in the clouds, cause I just sit here by myself and hope I stand out in the crowd. I tried to make my father proud, found out that I don't know how. Tomorrow there is only here and now. Yeah, there's only here and now. Yeah, there's only here and now. And I hate to say it, but I've heard it all before. There's a war outside my window, revolution at my door. Keep your corporate counterculture that I'm trying to ignore, because I don't believe in nothing anymore. All these teachers preaching right from wrong can't help the weak against the strong, or save you from an end that comes for you and I and everyone. So I'll just write another song for all the world to sing along, cause after all, someday we'll all be gone. Yeah, someday we'll all be gone. Yeah, someday we'll all be gone. Now I've washed my hands of everything, the fairy tales and fantasy. Apparently, reality has finally got the best of me. And all those drugs I did in vain, they ease the pain and numb my brain. But life is just a high you can't sustain. Life's a high you can't sustain. Life's a high you can't sustain. And I hate to say it, but I've heard it all before. There's a devil in the details and salvation with the Lord. No, I'm not one for compliance, and defiance left me bored. I guess I don't believe in nothing anymore. Now I've seen the writing on the wall, the darkness in the crystal ball, a house of cards about to fall into peace of mind I can't recall. But man, the worst thing that I saw was clearly the reflection of a boy who said, I think I've seen it all. Yeah, I think I've seen it all. Yeah, I think I've seen it all. And I hate to say it, but I've heard it all before. After all these years, those chandeliers have crashed upon the floor, and there ain't no way of knowing what the future has in store. So I don't believe in nothing. No, I don't believe in nothing. No, I don't believe in nothing anymore.
Awesome.
Thanks, man.
That's great. I'd been listening to Tumbleweeds, I think that's what that record's called, for about a week.
Oh, cool.
Trying to prepare to talk to you. So, dude, that was great, man. Thank you for doing this. I really appreciate it.
No worries, man. It was really cool. Had a good time.
Awesome. And if people want to check out your stuff, where can they go?
I got a website, but I haven't updated it. Mostly just find me on Facebook. Go add me on Facebook, and I always update what's going on there. I'll get the website updated soon, but if you find me on Facebook at Matt Pless, add my personal page. I got sunglasses on in the picture. You can recognize me if you look at the shades.
Awesome. So that's Matt Pless on Facebook, and I'll have a link for you in the description, everybody.
Yep.
Thanks, man. I appreciate it.
No problem, man. Thanks for having me.
How awesome was that? That was a kick. He was nice enough to accommodate my request for Ashtray, which is one of my favorite songs of his, and it was really awesome to get to hear those songs played live. And also, I don't know if you know many musicians, but musicians, the few that I've known, come alive when they're playing music, and that was really, you didn't see it over the listening, but Matt just kind of becomes alive when he plays his music, and God, I relate. I love that energy. It was really cool of him to come in and play those songs for us. So that's our show for the week. Again, please feel free to comment, subscribe, and leave me a rating on iTunes. I would certainly appreciate it. And if you happen to listen to your podcasts on Stitcher Radio, Between Awesome and Disaster is now on Stitcher Radio, so feel free to check us out there as well. But ratings and reviews are greatly appreciated. So thank you very much, everybody, and I will see you next week between Awesome and Disaster. Take care, everyone.